She began her journey in front of the camera as a student here at ECU. While enrolled in the broadcast department and taking classes, Emily simultaneously worked as the weekend anchor at WNCT TV here in Greenville. Following graduation, Emily moved to Los Angeles in order to pursue a career in acting. The move west paid off with multiple film and television roles, most notably 2 seasons as Ansley Hayes on The West Wing, and 10 seasons as Detective Callie Duquesne on CSI Miami. In addition to her acting career, Emily's dedication to community service began during her years at ECU, fundamentally based upon her membership in the Alpha Delta Pi sorority. This passion of service has influenced her most recent endeavor, Pippa and Pale, a social impact company offering healthy, low-waste, grab-and-go children's lunches. The company's commitment to second chance hiring has gained national attention from Richard Branson and Van Jones. Even though Emily's home is now 3,000 miles away from Greenville, her heart remains in North Carolina, and she is forever a pirate. Emily Proctor, welcome home to Pirate Nation.
Well, you know what they say, all actors are shorter in person, so thank you for that. I would also like to thank you, Dr. Wilson Okamara, if I'm getting your name correct, for saying the quote about Play-Doh, because I'm going to be honest with you, this is not my first commencement speech, but it is the first time that I have really struggled with writing one. And I think it's because my emotion was too difficult to put on paper. So I want to begin by saying also what Chancellor Stanton said was right. You will grow to love this school even more the longer you're away from it. And I am so incredibly excited to be back with y'all today. So what I decided to do, I wrote the most amazing speech, I should tell you. This is the best speech that has ever been written. I'm not going to read it because it's just so amazing. And also because most of these people covered a lot of what I was going to say. So I am going to talk through one of my first life lessons that I would like to pass on that I learned since I've left ECU. And it is something that I say to myself whenever times are really hard. And it is, the only way out is through. And I have found that when I've started something and I was unsure if I could finish it, or when I was working with people that I was unsure I could continue working with, I would always say this to myself. And when that didn't work, I have a plaque on my wall that reads, "Courage does not always roar, but sometimes it is the quiet voice at the end of the day, willing to try again tomorrow." I will read you one piece of my speech because it was mentioned about potential. And I know sometimes this is said about ourselves at ECU, but I was a solid C student, and of this I am very proud. Because let me tell you what is true. The C students tell the B students to tell the A students what to do. The power of the C student is real and mighty, and I apologize to the A and B students. But ECU accepted me based on a well-rounded look at my high school resume and personal accomplishment, and they saw potential. And that is what I see in all of you. And the wonderful thing about potential is that you own it. And if you are willing to work hard and try your best, your potential will be infinite. So we stand here on the starting line of the next chapter of your lives with the starting gun raised, and I would like to encourage you to go out into the world and run with it. I'm going to be very fast and loose with you guys because I am a pirate, and I feel that is what is best suited in this occasion. So When I first came to ECU, I lived in Tar River Estates. And I lived with a girl named Holly Parker, who was a year older than I was. And she had all of her friends in her life here. And that first Labor Day weekend, she went to the beach with her friends. And I stayed behind and cleaned the apartment. And after I did that for a couple of hours, and then I sat on my stoop, I called my dad, and I said, I want to come home. I was so lonely. I don't think I've ever been that lonely in my life. And this is what he said, exactly. Nope. And then he said, figure it out. And he hung up the phone. And, you know, there's this beautiful way that eagles teach their children how to fly. They push them out of the nest and they let them free fall, and then they sweep under them and catch them. And when I told my dad I was going to open with this story, he said, please don't, it's so awful. And I said, it's not. You did exactly for me what I needed to do, which was to push me out, to make me commit to where I was, and to tell me to get out there and figure it out. Incidentally, the way I figured it out was the way any good girl from the 80s would. I put on a pair of cream-colored pantyhose, cream-colored pencil skirt, cream-colored pumps, and a gigantically sleeved oversized top, and I walked to campus. But it was Labor Day weekend, so nobody was there. That's all right, I walked home. Someone that I saw here tonight, and I have been deeply impacted by, and I hope I do not cry at any point during the story, is Joe Perot, who was the head of the dance department when I was there. So one thing that I always like to think about is how ECU never said no to me, but rather it presented me with opportunities. And I may not have been asked to join the theater department, but the dance department welcomed me with open arms. And my senior year, and to quote Joe from tonight, he said, when you came to us, you were a beginning ballerina. And I was like, oh. And he said, but by the end, you were quite good. And I was like, oh. My senior year, I was desperate to be in the big senior performance. And Joe was trying to decide if he should attempt the grad ball, which is a giant performance and would have used every single dancer in the department, or if he should do something more reasonable. I was dogmatic. I was like, you should do the grad ball. The grad ball is the way to go. That is the only thing. And then finally I cornered him in the hallway of the dance building and I said, look, is it gonna happen or not? And he said, Emily, I'm still not prepared to make this decision. I'm thinking it through. So in a bold move of defiance, I turned my heel and walked across the hall and entered an audition for another spring performance. I did not even know what it was for. Well, as it turns out, it was a singing and dancing performance. When I came up to the the laugh should start early. When I waited my turn to sing, and when I got up there, Mort said to me, can I have your music? And I said, oh, I did not bring any music with me, but I am going to sing that song from Greece. Huh? I said, you know, the one that Rizzo sings. What? By herself. And he's like, oh, okay, I think I have it. I did not know, though. Having not prepared either my music or for the feeling of what it was going to be like to sing in front of a room full of people, I forgot halfway through. So I thought, okay, no worries. I'm just going to go on. The show must always go on. I'm going to nail it in the dance performance. So when that happened, I ran to the front, and it turns out that the dance style was tap. Now, I do not tap. And, well, that's not true. I kind of tap. I know 2 dance steps. I know the time step and shuffle off to Buffalo, which I did out the door. But I know that this gigantic story of failure may seem unwise to tell in front of so many people, especially at the very place where it shook down in the first place. But don't worry, it's going to turn out okay. I did not get a part in the tap dancing spring extravaganza, but I did get a lovely part in the graduation ball presented by Joe Carreau. And I loved every minute of it. Even the one where my parents came to watch, and while smiling at them from the stage, I fell. So this is my point. There is a lot of failure in success. And as you sit here today at the pinnacle of one mountain, know that you are soon to be at the base of another. If there is failure, don't worry. After 25 years of success in the entertainment industry, I can assure you that no one remembers the failures but you. They only remember the successes. And case in point, I am standing on a stage at ECU with a microphone. Woohoo! Right. Another key life lesson that began for me here at ECU was one of community involvement. Another faculty member that I got to see here tonight, Laura Sweet, was generous enough to have me join her in starting an after-school program for children in need. It was just a wonderful experience because I got to experience firsthand what it was like to be in a situation where people did not have necessary things for their lives. And it made me realize how difficult it is for some children just to get to school, let alone being able to learn. About a year ago, a friend of mine asked me to join her in volunteering for a prison reform program. And during this, I again had a very eye-opening experience because I realized firsthand what it's like for those growing up around violence, in need, and illiterate. It changed my perspective to the degree that this year I launched Pip and Pale, which is meant to be a community unifier. The profit from our food company goes to support a community program within prison and one to support families without. Today, I feel like we are in a cultural moment of judgment. And I can understand how we got here. I think there's a necessary process of things where the scale sits one side and it sits the other side. But what I would like to encourage you all to remember is to try and find middle ground with everyone, because we are all humans and that ground exists for us. It only exists in divide when we create the divide ourselves. And we spend a lot of time judging the actions of others, judging the actions of ourselves, and trading in a social media currency that only does this. It just divides. It divides ourselves. Am I doing the right thing? Did I look as cool as I could have? It divides us from others. Did they do the right thing? Did they look as cool as they should have? What if instead we took our time and spent it saying, how can what I see be better? And what can I do to make this possible? This is success. This is business. This is our way forward. And by asking yourself these questions and then taking action to follow up, you can, in fact, change the world. I feel like power today works under a business model of destabilizing others in order to create gain. But this is not actual power, it is chaos. And in my opinion, if we move forward under the idea of communication and compromise and compassion, we can solve so many of our current day problems. But what I want to say to you all about this is if you are sitting there and you are at all worried about the world that you are graduating into, please don't be, because you are graduating into a world of opportunity. The world needs a dose of change, and I'm looking at it. So go for it. My last story that I will share with you has to do about the beginnings of what I ultimately ended up doing after I left. So when I was a student at ECU, my mindset was one of kind of adventure. I would jump off a cliff, or, I won't go on, but you all know what I'm talking about. And Angela Russ came to me and said she was an intern at WNCT at the time, and she was spending all these long hours looking through people's reels. And she said, WNCT is looking for a new weather anchor, and I dare you to send in a reel. And I was like, oh, you're on. So after accepting that the only payback would be a laugh, I moved forward by asking a friend of mine at Q1 to help me, which I believe is now called Pirate Nation, your on-campus broadcasting station. So I taped myself standing in front of a chalkboard banner of the United States, reciting dialogue listed verbatim from a meteorologist on the Weather Channel. And then a few... What? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. But when Angela came home a few nights later, she was anxious. And she said, I have to tell you something. They are going to request you come in for an interview. So upon arrival for the interview, I was signed in and asked to wait in the lobby. I was 19 years old. I was totally out of my league. And by the time I was led back to station manager Roy London's office, I was shaking. I entered the room and I made myself as small as I could in the metal chair next to Philip and across from Roy. And every question they asked, I steered it back to the weather. Every topic they introduced, I just steered it back to the weather. It to me seemed somehow less a waste of their time if I stuck to a topic that they both enjoyed. I returned to WNCT a few weeks later as their new weekend weather anchor. I was both terrified and elated. Philip looked at me and said in his gentle voice, "Do you want to know why we hired you?" It is because a true meteorologist can only talk about the weather. And we could not get you to talk about anything else. It was a year before they discovered my age. And Roy yelled me into his office and he said, "Have you ever been out after work socializing in your work clothes all the time?" "Why didn't you tell us how old you were?" Well, I don't know that we ever got around to it. After that, I signed some paperwork stating that I would change my clothes before going what to me was downtown, but is now uptown. My first day at work, I explained to Philip my regrets for not being more qualified and additionally would understand if he needed to hire someone else who was. And he answered in the most kind and diplomatic way. He said, "Well, if you are willing to work hard, then I will teach you." And every day after that, I showed up and I did my best. So here is what I want you to take away from this. Excellence is not a point of destination. It is a habit. Excellence is possible by simply waking up every day, committing to your own character, and continuing forward with it. In life, there are going to be people who choose to reach for the brass ring, and there are going to be people who choose to support it. There is no right or wrong way to go through life, but it is possible that you can achieve any goal that you take steps toward on a daily basis. The last thing that I want to do is I want to read to you all a Cherokee legend that I love and is something that really keeps me on track when I feel I've got to find it. I've got a lot of homework up here. It was an amazing speech that I didn't read to y'all. And it's Two Wolves. So if you haven't heard it, I hope you will enjoy it. Our negative thoughts can create anxiety. Oops. Sorry. That is not where I should start. An old Cherokee is teaching his grandson about life. There's a fight that is going on inside me, he says. It is a terrible fight, and it is between two wolves. One is evil. He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment. He continued, the other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth. The same fight is going on inside you and inside every other person as well. The grandson thought about it for a minute, and then he asked his grandfather, which one will win? The one you feed. I think you all have been incredibly lucky. I think you all have been incredibly lucky y'all are gonna make me cry. It's hard. To have gone to what I consider to be the greatest college in the world. It is. I give ECU full credit for everything in my life that came after it. It was an eagle for me. It taught me everything that I needed to know about resiliency and belief that people can be what they decide to be. And it has nothing to do with what kind of student you are. It has to do with what kind of person you are. It's funny because oftentimes our stories revolve around a main character of ourselves, but it's not entirely accurate. I refer to the years that I was educated here as my time at ECU, but they were years that were shared with friends, teachers, obstructionists, family. There was great love, there was great loneliness, there was success, miscalculation, there was football. It was the intertwining of many lives that resulted in the experience that I describe as mine. But if even one of the key players had gone absent, my life would have been totally different. All events and all human interaction act like waves pushing us toward the future. Please keep in mind that we are waves for others. Be intentional. Oh no, I'm really gonna cry, thank you. Oh, sorry. Be magnanimous. I thank you for that. I'm not going to be able to say this without tears, but if one drop of water ripples out wide, imagine what a boatload of pirates could do. Congratulations, you guys. Go out in the world and be awesome because of you. And the last thing I will say is, I do have one other story, but it's far too terrible to tell on stage. The last thing I will say to you is, laissez le bon temps rouler. And if you do not know what that means, go out tonight and figure it out. I will see you uptown.
Thank you so much, Emily, for your remarks tonight. To our pirate graduates, we are so very proud of you and your success, and we are deeply honored that you would return to Greenville and to ECU tonight to share your journey and your experience with us. The Robert H. Wright Alumni Leadership Awards are given each year to honor undergraduates who've done outstanding work during their period of study.